the great filter, there's a possibility that is far more unsettling than being alone in the universe. Not that life doesn't exist, but that something is preventing it from lasting. Something that interrupts the progression from simple beginnings to advanced civilizations. Something that stops life before it can spread, before it can be seen, before it can leave a lasting mark on the cosmos. An invisible barrier known as the Great Filter. At first, the universe appears to be overflowing with potential. Billions of galaxies stretch across unimaginable distances, each one filled with billions of stars. Around many of those stars, planets form worlds with different compositions, different histories, different conditions. When we look at this scale, it becomes difficult to believe that Earth is the only place where life has ever emerged. The ingredients are everywhere. The opportunities are countless. And yet, when we look out, we see nothing. No megastructures surrounding stars. No civilizations expanding across galaxies. No signals that clearly indicate intelligence beyond our own. Just silence. And that silence forces us to confront a different kind of question. Not where is everyone, but what is stopping them? Because if the universe has had billions of years to produce life, and if even a small fraction of that life developed intelligence, then we should expect to see something. Even a single civilization, given enough time, could expand across a galaxy. And yet, there is no clear evidence that this has ever happened, which suggests something deeply unsettling. That somewhere along the path from lifeless matter to advanced civilization, there is a barrier. A step so difficult, so unlikely, or so dangerous that most never make it past. This is the idea of the Great Filter, and it changes everything. To understand the Great Filter, we need to break down the journey of life itself, not as a single event, but as a series of steps. Each one building on the last, each one requiring specific conditions, specific timing, and a degree of stability that may not be common. The first step is the emergence of life from non-living chemistry. At some point on early Earth, molecules organized themselves in a way that allowed them to replicate, to evolve, to become something more than just matter. This transition from chemistry to biology's still not fully understood. It may be common, or it may be incredibly rare. If this step is the filter, then the universe could be filled with lifeless planets. Worlds that had the right ingredients, but never made the leap into life. But let's assume that life does emerge. The next step is the development of complexity. For billions of years, life on Earth existed only as simple, single-celled organisms. It took an immense amount of time for multicellular life to appear, and even longer for that life to diversify into complex ecosystems. Then comes intelligence. Not just awareness, but the kind of intelligence that can build tools, develop language, create technology, and understand the world around it. On Earth, this happened only once in a way that led to a technological civilization. Countless species have existed, but only one has reached this level. And even then, the journey is not over. Because intelligence is not the final step. Survival is. A civilization must not only emerge, it must endure. It must survive its own growth, its own technology, its own impact on its environment. It must navigate risks that did not exist before it became advanced, risks that it created itself. And this is where the great filter becomes most unsettling, because it may not be behind us, it may be ahead. Civilizations may reach a certain level of development only to encounter challenges they cannot overcome. Technologies that outpace their ability to control them, systems that become unstable, conflicts that escalate beyond recovery, environmental changes that cannot be reversed. From the outside, this would look like silence, not because no one existed, but because no one survived long enough to be seen. Imagine a universe where life arises again and again across countless worlds. Some of it simple, some of it complex, some of it intelligent. Civilizations begin to form, to grow, to explore. But each one, at some point, encounters the same barrier, a point of failure, a moment where the system collapses. And then, nothing. The stars remain, the planets continue their orbits, but the story ends. And from a distance, the universe appears empty, but there is another possibility. One that is equally profound, but far more hopeful. What if the great filter is behind us? What if the steps that led to our existence, the emergence of life, the development of complexity, the rise of intelligence are so rare, so unlikely, that very few worlds ever reach this point? If that is true, then we are not just another civilization. We are an exception, a rare outcome in a universe where most possibilities never fully unfold. And that would mean something extraordinary. That we are not just observers of the universe, but one of the few places where the universe has become aware of itself. But we don't know which of these possibilities is true. We don't know if the silence we observe is a warning or a reflection of rarity. And that uncertainty creates a tension that is impossible to ignore, because the implications are not distant, they are immediate. If the filter is ahead, then our future is not guaranteed. Every advancement, every discovery, every step forward brings us closer to challenges we may not yet understand. Challenges that other civilizations may have faced and failed to overcome. But if the filter is behind us, then our existence carries a different kind of responsibility, not just to survive, but to continue, to expand, to preserve the one thing that may be incredibly rare in the universe: conscious life. And this is why the search for life beyond Earth matters so much. Because finding even the simplest form of life, microbial, primitive, basic, would change everything. It would tell us that life is not rare. And if life is not rare, but we still see no advanced civilizations, then the great filter is almost certainly ahead, waiting. But if we search and find nothing, if planet after planet shows no signs of life, if the universe, for all its scale, remains silent, then maybe the filter is behind us. Maybe we have already passed the most difficult step. Maybe we are already on the other side of the barrier. And so, the silence of the universe is not just a mystery. It is a clue, a signal without words, a question without an answer. So the question changes. It becomes more personal, more urgent, more real. Are we among the first or among the last? If this made you think, take a moment to like the video, comment. Do you think the great filter is behind us or ahead? Share this with someone who needs to hear this.